Hello everyone, my name is Jonas. This is my podcast. Today I will read book Think and Grow Rich, chapter 16, How to Outfit the Six Ghosts of Fear. Take inventory of yourself as you read this closing chapter and find how many the ghosts were standing in your way. Before you can put any proportion this philosophy into success, use your mind, you must be prepared to receive it. The preparation is not difficult. It begins with students' analysis and the understand of their enemies which you shall have them clear out. There's in the season doubt and fear. The sixth sense you never fiction while there's their negative or anything that remind other mind. The members of this unit holding into closer relay rare one not found water to or close hand in the season of fear. Remember this as you read in the season Christianity you double the two blend and become fear. The blending process often slowly. This is the reason there's with these three enemies they're dangerous, so dangerous. Their germination and their growth will alter their presence, the being observed. The reader of this chapter described often which they must be attracted before. The philosophy was which they must be attracted before you can put to practical use it. It also analyzed the condition which was, but lately reducing huge numbers of people of to property and its states are truth which must be understood. Be all cumulatively rich with the mastery on these terms of money or state of mind for a greater value that money. The purpose of this chapter is to turn on the spoiler facilitation upon the case that and the current of the six base fear. Before we can most an enemy, we must know this name is abilities and this place of above. As you really as you really analyze yourself careful and to determine which, if any, the six common fears have attached themselves to you. Do not be deceived to be abilities of these subtle enemies. Sometimes they remain hidden in the subconscious mind. They're difficult to locate and still more difficult to eliminate. The six basic fears. They're analyzing the basic fears with some combination of every very human suffer of the time and another. Most people, the fortunate if they do not suffer from the intersects. Nobody is the another of the most common parts they are the fear of property and the Christians and our head and the loss love someone and the old age and the death. The first three fears is the at bottom of the most honor worries. All after fears are of minor importance. They can group the other sixes hidden the prevalence tells of fear course the warden cycles of the most 6 years while depression was you founded the circle of fear property. During the World War, we were the slaker of fear of death. Just on following the war, the cycle of the fear all had the evidence epidemic spread itself in the overworld. The fears are nothing more than state of mind. One's state of mind is subjective to control and direction. Physicians and everyone know there's less subjective on attachabilities than ordinary laymen. for theorization that psychoanalysis should not fear decided. The psychians and the world fear hesitation, having been a psychology contacting hundreds of people daily who were suffering from condition deserts and smallpox without coming a threat. The humanity against theirs and consensual is on slowly and absolute lack of fear. The man can create nothing which we don't first in conceiving the four impulsing through. Following the statement, and comes another still greater importance, namely, man's fraud impulses begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent, and the thoughts and frauds are voluntary and involuntary. Fraud impulses which are picked up and the fraud later being chance fraud in which are being realized in the other mind. Might determine one physical possibilities, business professional and social design adjusted really in the front impulse which in the creativity and the design. We were rare, we are rare, leading and the function of the persistation for effective greater importance of the person. Who does understand why some people appear be lucky and while others require greater ability, training, experience, and brain capability than destined to be and riding misfortune? That is fact. Maybe implying the B statement that every human being has the ability to communicate to control on mind. Alright? One moment. Who do is not understand why some people appear to be lucky while others recall greater ability, training, experience, and brain capability, send the time to right to misfortune. This fact may be explained by statement to every human being's one ability to completely control mind, and with this control obvious every person may open mind the trumpful impulses which are being realized to be others' brains. In closing doors with and that admitting only from impulses of his own choice. The nature was done at man with absolutely control but one thing, and that through this fact to apply and coupled with the additional fact to everything which man creates. Begins as the form and flow leads one very near the principle with fear and may be mastered. If is the true all, the flow was the tendency to clone the self and physical equivalent. It is the quality tree that from impulses to fear of property cannot be translated into terms of courage and physical again. The people of America began to think and the problem following the Wall Street crash in 1929, slowly but surely that may fraud was crystallizing into the physical equivalent which you know depressions. It was happen is comfortable delays of nature. The fear of property, where can be compromise between property and the riches. The two roads that lead in property riches travel to opposite directions if you want riches, you must refuse accepted circumstance that leads towards property. The starting point, the part leads to riches desire. In chapter in 107, introduction, the proper of desire, the chapter on fear, you complete the introduction, prepare in your mind to take and practical use desire. Capability. Wherein the peace give yourself challenge which define determining how much this philosophy you have absorbed, where the point which you can turn property to fall a current depth to future holdings store store for you. If after reading this chapter are you willing to accept the property, you may well wake up from the mind yourself properly. This is one direction you cannot avoid. If you demand risks, determine that from and you know road leader of the riches you have been given and you map the following keep you that whole neglect may start to stop before you are even one will to blame. But you, the responsibility is yours. No ability will solve and accept your responsibility. You know you fail over solve the main racist life because the acceptance can but thinking in the style on thinking can control the mind and the state million something. That is some cannot be the project it must be create. The fear of property and the state mind, nothing else. But it suffice destroy one change the achievement and the undertaking a trust which became in painful evidence during the depression. This fears paralyzes the difficult reasons, destroys the facultative of imaginations, kills of real self-realize. Undetermined enthusiasm discourages intuitive leads in the strand of the purpose encouraging procrastination tip and enthusiasm that made self-control and impossible. The taken term for the rate and thinking diverse contrastation of afforded the master persistence strong the willpower for imagination destroy ambition. Because then the memory and the evidence failure even conceivable, the front kill a statement featured emotion hurt. Discouraging friendship and evidence describe hundred forms, leading to sleeplessness and a mystery in happiness. If you speed in the obvious the trust that you live in the world and overabundance of standing between your desire expand the lack of defined purpose. The fear of property without double most destroying the six basic fear. It was being placed in one hidden because the most difficult master. The discon- the considerable courage required to stating for about origin this fear and the still greater the courage accepting the first after was being stated in the fear property ground of immense inquiry tendency of pity upon with fellow men economically. Really as me animals lower than their men are motivation be instinctive but early capability to think and stimulate their force prey upon another physically. Men wish is super on this ration do not when fellow bullying he gets more satisfaction out of waiting when the means of all viruses that every conspiracy delays was being passed safeguard in from fellow men of all ages the world wish no one think the age when which we live in since to be one waiting misunderstand become often money madness a man is considered less than the dust of the earth unless we can display a fat bank of that bank account but life is not money. Never mind who acquired it. He is king, you are a big shot, he's above lie. The rule is policy domination in business and the world about with both respective passes. Nothing brings, much in suffering the humanity, the power, and its hosts have experienced before proper to understand the feel and meaning this. Each is a wonder and a fierce property to throw a long line and experience and learn it. For sure, someone cannot be trusted where the matters of money and the early procession and the worst past and begin the prayer. The majority margin motivated be error process by and both the concerned party and the owner, therefore that divorce and conditions are busy. So eager man is the process always that we will at quietly whatever whenever we can throw wiggle methods if possible throw water methods is necessary for expedient. Take self-analysis and discover weakness which one do and look and acknowledge. This is the form an examination stand in all them and life in the morning. Describe it properly. Remember you check in yourself point by point that you both the coordinate journey your process out the determined for defense. And you tell the plaintiff in defend the also and the trial face and the face squares. Ask yourself defined question, demand direct replies. When the examination is for you will know more about yourself. You will not feel that you'll be in person juggling and the self-examination in Cal Newport one and the whole you know you well deserve and juggle while in your cross-examination yourself. You are after throw gathering matter that causing ever from the may temporary barriers you. The majority of people ask it that you they fear the most holding place and they fear nothing. They reply be in the world in crime because the fake people realize they are bound in the head while happening in spiritual and physical from of fear. So in the battle and deeply sending the emotion fear that we can throw the life and burn in the with. They never recognize the past tense. All encourages analysis describe all the past tense in universal enemy when the big and sudden analysis run deeply into your character where and the list one symptoms for which you should look. How to outfit the six goals and fear. Symptoms of fear the property. Have indifference. The commonly expressed for lack of mission, willingness, tolerance, probably over without processing mental and physical laziness, lacking individual imagination, flaws in the thing self. In the season, the habit in impermanation alters to think and staying in no offense. Doped. Generally expressed through alibis and the accent design in their phone explain way apologize for factory sometimes present for every froze the successfully and increasing them worry usually expressed in the finding the fault with older tendencies spend beyond one's income negligent personal price and scroll on falling dependence using alcoholic drinks sometimes through the use the narcotic nervous or lack of poises, self-conditions, and the lack self-realize. Overcaution, the ability of looking negative in the size and circumstance thinking, the talking possible failure and the conception in the open means and suicide. You know our roads deserted, but you never searching for plans avoid failure. That again, and I begin putting ideas and the plans and the action. Intro-waiting becomes permanent habit to remembering and the whole feelings and the forgiving and the chosen you have so said and the saying in holding burning button overwhelming the broaden permission reading indigestion for elimination auto suggestion and base brave and bad disposition auto intoxication. Procrastination, the habit of putting away tomorrow and the day when should haven't been the last year. The spending of the time and crying alibis, the excusing having done the job. This assumption and the closing led in the overcation of doubt and worry. Refusal accepting responsibility when you can avoid the wiggling compromising rather than put up stiff and fight. Compromising if in difficult stance and when stepping stones at defense began with life for penny stand and the demand properly opinion relations contentment happiness. Planning what to if then overthinking be failure stand burning in our breaks than making rated impossible. The weakness of often lacking in self confidence, definite purpose, and self control in achieving enthusiasm, ambition, drifting, and the sound relation ability expectation properly enshrined in the mind riches. Association with tools whole accepted properly in Christ second the company the trust the mind to receive riches. Money talks. Some will task you did you write in a book about money? Why? The mandatory rich in dollars alone. Some will believe in it already so that there are other forms for reaching for desirable than money. Yes, there are the reaching with the cannot be mensurate the terms dollars that the borrow and millions peoples who will say, give me all money I need to will find everything the thousand want. But the major reason why you wrote this book is how to get money that fatal word but later in the passing through experience left millions men and the woman paralyzed with fear and property. That is the sort, and the third was the well described Yas book, the prayer. In the New York World Telegram visit. This money is clan Sheldon's method describes for people under themselves in this world hurt your soul, which money cannot be buy. By most people in a big broken in our keep in mind and sustenance their spirits. When a man on down in a one street, when able get away job now something happiness and his spirit with which can be demonstrated by dropping with on shoulders was the talking on the gaze and cannot escape feeling inferior among peoples who wish regular employment and the throw and who knows they deficiency in a quality character, intelligence, or ability. These people's even his friends feel, on the other hand, and sense superiority regarding their parents' concilios, and they accusedly him man the brawling times and of carrying this accusingly, and he cannot continue bore ever long, but burning himself usually when a man and the brawling merrily live in the present experience and the money lacks the power and lack in the real silent spirits. Of course, none is the enough applies the borns or ability to others, but only men in a normal ambition and they self respective. Woman in the same predicating they must be different. As the most to not think the woman will consider as well the orders. They underscore the braid lines and the way rather like there are sand begging the streets strands and they recognize the crowd be the same plain sayings in which identify businessmen and of course. I do not mean the softly against the city streets whole war the positive number of the conformity Bailey's bombs. It means responsibly young, designed, intelligent woman. There must be many of them, but despite no oppressment may be and they will kill themselves. When a man the down and the way down the time those hands is broken, he made the travel mighty sea and a man about job and discover that job in the failing man and the failure that you are chosen jobs with the base pay but only commissions they sailing and some lands is click and clack with nobody with full by except your pity. Turning that you down the fine stays out the back streeted and nowhere and the jaws anywhere. Sun talks and talks and gazing into windows, the luxuries which do not foreign, until self-inferiors give to people how to stop looking achieving stance. We understand railroad station putting himself down liberatiness on the legs and soaking little hat and the button looking for a job. The gets going again. He may, you will, you may know it, putting himself in goal gave, and it will happen very lines the figure it did not. He may well describe in the clowns of leftover over the days when they had stayed the job, but clowns cannot describe the drop. Thus, 6,000, the 6,000 non-orders people, bookkeepers, and late chancemen that go hands in the both stairs and again in having their independence, their self-respect in the main world, and discipline cannot be himself that we a good man through fraud here, ego or even the favorable vertically or afterward. It is the just money which makes the difference with the little money show himself again. Some employers taking the most smoking adjuvant people who were down and the altar. The agency's hand hung off a little colored in cars after Mirable when the Borson man $12 a week and 16 a week and 18 a week and a pull anywhere with 25 a week after one get the front and an agency colored we one clip at the front paper and the mic play going good clean permanent telephone your order wish from and 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. for 8 in a month. Not $8 a week, but $8 a month. The 8 house sales announcement. In state legislation, can you imagine the brutal referendum to anyone who demands good? The claim payment 12 cents a war in cry to resolve the religion, but that is both people they offer. The fear of criticism. Just no Honduras now the camp of fear no the state in the Egyptian the bodies the think certain where was high to development from some believing in a fear made appearance about the time that politics becomes a profession. Other believing can address the Asian in 1 month first began contract stay south with styles and winning in April. This author began Naylor in a humorous and prophet this inquiry attribute the basic fear and criticisms to part man and right naturally with prompts in only on taking away and fellow man's goods and away anywhere is but just action the criticism. The fellow man's character fact he will create the man from how he steals and the political secret officer display on the virtuous qualification but by implying best in their opponent. The fear of criticism takes the money from the majority and with perpetual trivial be overhead and it may for example air build bowed for other reason or fear of criticism had had become bowed because of the take defeating brains anyhow the good circumstantial and role holds there. The men were hot not because they actually need but mainly because everyone doing individual fails into lines into right six in other individual circumstances when woman seldom having the bowed heads even her because her dad's when flaming had losing the purpose and being in a dormant. But the most not be to propose one man of freedom free from the fear of criticism. It is a woman. The clays on be superior man with evidence of fear is a actually talking down the street riding in vintage 1890 was a student manufacturer's clothing having been and so capitalism this basic fear criticism with which the making it being cruising. Having season styled men are shave artists often winning about change. Who establishes his style? A certain other portion of clothing in a manufacturer. Why do we change the style often? The answer obviously change the styles of canal of we are now sell more clothes. For the same season, in the manufacturer automobiles change the styles model every season. No man wants to drive the automobile which will not be test styles off-road. The other model may actually be better car. We have been described the manner which people behave. Another influence you fear criticism apply in the small and the pacific in life. This is an always I'm human. The behavior when this important to have into human relationship. This, for example, practical in any person who was harassing the mental maturity and you could read on the very decide describe life in the most fables and fold imagery, drug mass, the tail guns, and field actors to back. Not often, however, will you find the person who was the encouraged the opulent state in believing is and subjective. Most people is deprived enough doubt a light and return than a divinity that way and not believe the stars association with the form religion which thou people bondage and a prioritization the scientific discovery and education. Why do the adventure people when and this often in neglect she why anyway from the England believe in the fables she didn't believe in the fables based in religion few decades ago. The answer is because of fear of criticism. The man and woman having the burden to take the wolf's person pride the ghosts. Is this the wonder we have anyway these conditions which make an of fear criticism. Christiansis. The name was and not for in the past when criticism to carrier served in punishment. It will do some continuous. The fear of criticism are both in achieving destroying the power imaginations, limiting the individual, taking away self reliance, and the only demand a hundred other ways. The parents often were children in republic irrespons- irreparable enduring criticisms when the motor of the one the May boyhood show use the punishing when was the most lately. And you complete the job with a statement. You learn the penalty before 20. It was sent reformatory age in services. The criticism isn't for services where everyone was too much. Everyone is talk they wish and 100-year guarantees whenever in calendar one relative words is often should be recognized as a crime, realizing crime in the most natural. For any parent building inferior complexes in the mind of a shield, and for necessary criticism. The employers, you understand human nature, and the best is the man and the criticism but is inconsiderable, and the parent may accomplish the same results with the children. The criticism will the plant fear, the human hurt and resistant but will not build in love and affection. Deception, the fear of the criticism. This fear is almost universal fear the properly evidence and the fact is just fatal through achievement because the fear destroy an active initiatives and discovering their using imagination. The major installation there are fear are self-conscious, generalized perception from nervous stimulus, conversation in million strange knowing movement and the hundred symbols featured and eyes, lack of voice, and spread for lacking a voice and control nervosism in the person and others, poor posture and the body, poor memory, personality, lacking and firm decision, personal charm, and the ability to express opinions defined. The ability sidestepping the one intradmilling the squarely regarding a film alters before careful examination the option. Inferiority complex. The ability for specifying the approval bill word mount and the by action demands and recovery of feeling. And inferior use big words and impress others. And in imagination, authors drains expand manners and abroad in imaginary achievement. This sometimes given surface upon feeling superiority, extravagance, the ability to thrive in keeping up with joyousness, spending beyond one income, lack of inactivity, the failure to try and embrace opportunities to self-advancement, the future express opinions, and the lack of confidence in one ideas given in the self-answers that to question that could be superiors and is status of manner Spanish in a safe both orders than lack of ambition, the mental physical laziness, the lack of self-understanding, slowness, and irrational indecision with influenced by others, the apathy of circumstances others behind, and lacking in the face to ability to deaf fearful protest by undertaking in opposite to others is because a man without case and lacking tactfulness and manner and speech and we go unwillingness to accept that to blame of mistakes, to fear of how will out. This fear may be trusted both the physical and social already closely associate the of death and because leading and brought a terrible world which demands not. But concerning which we was terrible someone's scrubbing story, the opinion some had and great in the general business selling and have not had little with the keeping alive the fear of already. In the main man fears well, because the terrible picture even haven't planted this in mind, and that may happen if death and show overtaken when and also fear because the economic toll and the wage may climb. Reputable fiscal stimuli and 17.5 in percent people in the visitor Piscians for personal services suffering with hypochloride when I is having some occasion for fear produce physical symptoms that describe fear. Powerful on the mighty the human mind buildings destroys. Applying new upon the common weakness and fear and how the spread patent medicines fortunes. This foreign impulsion from credulous humanity become ev- prevalent 20 years ago, and Clark Waking magazine conduction builder cap again someone worse and define the patent and medicine business. During the full epidemic one broken during the World War, this major new city that throw drastic steps in checking the many people were doing themselves fraud in fear in a white collared newspaper and said, gentlemen, I feel necessary to ask in the publish in a car headlines concerning but the full academic, unless you cooperate with me, we have still a situation which cannot control. The newspapers publish stories about the fluent which the most epidemic being successfully checked. The frozen experiment conducted some years and it was proved that people's may now be suggestion we conducted experience be which front question. Why I was you? You for the rival the first questionnaire user provocate and grant and the number whole nothing already in provisions. The second questionnaire is usually and answered with the statement I don't know. I don't know. They stand but they fell building. The 13th questioner was usually man with the frank admission the victim was actually feeling well. 3 years on active acqua- acquaintance if you both that you make in when uncomfortable with not carrying experience too far. There are certain religions require to members think average and upon enemies by a single method the helpless and spell devices. There is the overwhelming evidence that some things begins from negative from impulses, such impulses may be placed by one mind and others by suggestion create the individual ends in our mind. A man who blessed with more windows wisdom that inside my indication once said. When anyone's asking who you feel always want to answer knocking it down. Doctor and patient intros nuclear there always because change mental activity necessary to see the fear already live in every human mind. Worry, fear, discouragement, disappointment, and the love and business, and the love and the business are fried and kills and sends germinating in your growth. The recent business depression keeping doctors in the room because in every form to negative thinking and make kills in our head. Disappointment business and you love instant and already listen kills and wait. Young man and suffering spice wish sad in a hospital and all every between death. The specialized the specialist suggestive one placed in the care very tender young woman when in the first year I revealed the job. With their week's appointment described different melody, it was love again. There's a remind wax but the patentment and the Northern were later married. But both were good while the time is writing. The symptoms, the fear of your word. The symptoms of the almost universal fear and also suggesting the ability of negative use of suggestion and looking and spend of defined symptoms kind in enjoying imaginary and spending being ability try on find and recommend by others having therapeutic value talking to others options accidents in order from wellness experience with diet physical exercise return systems without professional guidance and trying home hormones and patent medicines and quack hypochondria the ability to talk in willfulness the concentrate mind upon decisive decisive and expectant apparently will never break across. Nothing that can bottles and cause these conditions both the negative thinking and nothing but positive flow can affect the current. The hypochondria inside the emotion demand occasion the brought my to so-called nervous imaginary illness. Exercise. Exercise. Fear of you already often intervenes in proper physical exercise and it results in overwhelming be causing avoid door life. Sus- susce- Susceptibility. Susceptibility. Few offer at breaks and down natural body resistance and create a favorable condition for forms that so may be condition. The fear of you held often related the fear of property. Especially the case of the hypochondriac who constantly worries about the possibility of having to pay doctor bills and hospital bills and the cheaper person spend of most time prepare sickness talking about death and the same money for seminar lots and the workout expense and let's see self-coddling the aptitude to make it beat for simply using the imaginary lines and so the people the aptitude in faking the illness and cover plain laziness to serve alibi for lack ambition. Intemperance, the aptitude for using alcohol or narcotic and destroy pains and structure with neurology. Instant terminal case, the aptitude reading about illness and worry over the possibility of the being struck the ability and the reading in patent medicine advertisement. The fear of loss love.